Dr. Ben Carson on that strategy, the good doctor with us right now. One of the nicest people in politics, period. Doctor, I do think there was a strategy to this. You're the expert here, I'm not. But that this neutralized that argument and allowed him to move on to these other issues. Now, some are going to say in the press, and they've said in the Democratic Party, very tacky of you to do, Mr. Trump. Ben Carson says.
Well, there were a lot of people who wanted him to just sort of lay down and surrender and basically not fight back. And he's not going to do that. And I think it was important, you know, to bring these women out here so that you have some leverage. And he can say, look, I will push this just as hard as you guys push on that side.
Because you go after me, well, I have these people here who can go after you.
But, you know, what he really wants to do is talk about the issues. Because there is no way that Hillary Clinton can come up with anything that makes any sense on how she's going to revive the economy. There's no way she has anything to say about jobs. Her tax proposals are absurd. Regulations. What is she going to do about immigration? No, I mean, she can't argue on those things. So if I was her, I would do exactly the same thing.
Well, but you also are aware of the noise prior to tonight. All these Republicans are saying, you got to go, Donald Trump. Ben Sass, Nebraska, and a host of other senators, John McCain, can't support you. Many of them saying, it's up to 24 now, Doctor, who are arguing we need a new nominee. What do you think?
I think that demonstrates that they probably are being affected a little bit by the media. The media is very powerful.
But those comments were powerful, right, Doctor? I
mean, they were powerful and they were wrong.
Were you offended?
I certainly would not engage in that kind of banter. But the fact of the matter is...
He called it locker room. A lot of guys use that language.
I've heard much worse than that.
Really?
Much worse than that in locker rooms. But
I don't know. That's a...
Much worse,
really?
Believe me.
What locker rooms are you hanging out in?
Much worse. And people trying to magnify how macho they are. And all
other neurosurgeons? You're the last.
Not neurosurgeons.
Oh, all right.
But remember, I grew up in Detroit.
Yeah, I know.
In a rough area.
Understood.
Okay?
This is before you.
And by the same token, this was done at a time in his life when he was sort of like a billionaire playboy.
He had been married.
That's very
59 years old.
Right, but that's very different than when you've been all over the country talking to people.
All right, we can go back and forth on this, but to your point, and I think what we were saying earlier, it did neutralize this argument. Will it neutralize all these Republicans who are saying, you sound awful here, you sound like a sexist pig, we're hearing that there are other tapes that are going to come out. How do you prepare Donald Trump to deal with that onslaught like you did tonight?
Well, there will be other stuff that will come out. Believe me, they knew about this particular tape for a long time, and they brought it out strategically to blunt the Hillary
coming out.
There will be more stuff.
Yeah.
This is their modus operandi. Because the only way they can win is to keep the focus on Donald Trump. They cannot win on the issues.
So let's say we get a new batch. And again, we don't know, but I've heard the same rumors. But ahead of the Vegas debate on the 19th, what do you think he should do? Bring more accusers or what?
No, he should begin to prepare the people and say, look, I have not throughout my life been running for Pope. So, you know, there's a lot of things that I did that probably aren't appropriate. But, you know, I had a moment where I realized that the skills and the experience that I have could potentially be helpful for this country. And I have changed. I'm a different person, and I'm laser focused on making America great again.
He seems to have more success, Doctor, getting that message to men, not women, and that whatever you say of this tape and the timing of it all, whatever inroads he potentially was making with women, it stopped.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of women are offended, and they should be. And a lot of men should be. Everybody should be offended by what was done 11 years ago that was wrong. But I think a lot of people were offended by Mary Magdalene in the Bible, and they were ready to stone her. And a wise man by the name of Jesus came along and said, let him who was without sin cast the first stone. There's maybe something we could learn from that. And also, remember Alexander Hamilton. You know, he was set up, had an affair. They were going to ruin him and blackmail him.
I know all about it. I saw the show.
And he came out and said, yep, I did it. It was wrong. It was absolutely
you read about
boneheaded.
It. Got it out there right away. But, if more and more comes up, it kind of like people start saying, oh, boy, what else, right?
Well, people need to say, what happens if we continue with the accumulation of national debt? And what happens if we continue not to develop all of our people when we only have 330 million and we have to compete with China with 1.4 billion? And what happens if we bring in people in this country who are infiltrated by terrorists who want to destroy us?
In other words, get back to the issues that matter, not this stuff that doesn't, right?
If we're smart,
yeah.
And I believe in the American people, and I do believe when push comes to shove, they're going to be able to see through all of this.
Have you been recruited, at least on the part of the Trump campaign, to win these sort of nervous Republican establishment folks back, or even the evangelical community where you were very and remain very popular?
Well, I'm talking to all kinds of people, all
like
kinds
who?
of groups.
Drop a name.
This Friday, where were we? I'm in so many different places. But we were speaking to a conservative group in Texas. Yesterday, I was out in California.
Oh, wow.
With 5 or 6,000 people.
Trying to win these people over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think after tonight you'll have an easier time of it?
I do believe so. I think he prosecuted his case very well.
Well, certainly better than the first debate.
Much
right?
better than the first.
So
and
it's
the third,
1-1 now.
And the third
Rubber
debate will be even
Vegas.
better. Absolutely.
Yeah. They have great breakfast buffets there. Not that I have them anymore.
And they're cheap because nobody has any money.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Dr. Ben Carson, a class act, left or right, just a decent human being in this race. Or we got